show that I produced or did some production on.
What's the show?
The Prime Day show. Did some production for her, in particular her episode, right? So, but I'm not making any extra money. It was that one-time deal. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I'm listening to these conversations, and I'm like, had I put that production on the blockchain, would I still be getting, residuals? And that's one of the things I think a lot of artists that create their music should really take into consideration. So, putting this out to the members out here, what do you believe would be a process that an artist can do in order to protect their intellectual property? Anyone?
Speak on this briefly. My name is David Karoma. It's an amazing chat here.
Hi, David.
I spoke to Akeem Draper. He runs a company called Song Secure. He's an A&R guy in the American music industry and a lot of history in the space. But he created this platform called songsecure.com, and the whole point is that once you put intellectual property on the blockchain, you have now cemented that copyright. You do not need to go to a copyright office. You do not need to go to any bureaucracy. Once your intellectual property is on chain, you've minted that. All of the evidence that that's your IP is there in stone, essentially, digital stone, right? So I'll just speak on that. Like, that's basically how you would do it. That would be step number one. And then you can point back to that, just like Quentin was saying, and say, no, this is mine, and so you're going to pay me X residuals every time it shows up, period. End of story. So that's kind of step number one, is just minting it on the chain, right?
Thank you.
So I'd like to add on to that. I'm actually an affiliate of Hakia, and so it's called Artist Toolbox, and what it does is it comes with a bunch of tools, one of them being copywriting. So you can copyright your items, and it copyrights it on chain. You can still go to the US Copyright Office, but you still have that item fully government item on chain. That's the first item. And then after that, you can still put your music on chain, but it comes with a bunch of tools, so like a visualizer, being able to do collaborations with productions, being able to separate your music, and a whole bunch of tools. If you want to sign up, I have a sign up for you. We can talk about after that.
Absolutely.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So there's no one answer for that, because it also depends on what is the actual thing that you're trying to, I guess, preserve. Obviously, when it comes to production often is a collaboration, right? So that's what gets a little tricky.
Well, actually, the interesting thing is that we did all the music, myself and my partner, and then the edits is like, oh well, we did all the edits from head to toe, and then they're like, okay, cool, we're gonna buy this from you. We're just giving you this. You're not getting anything else in perpetuity, right? So. So I work with producers and artists and so on and so forth. So I think this is something that would be important for them to understand. Oh, and by the way, my name is Jeffrey Scott.
Hi, Jeffrey.
Also, big deal here. So first and foremost, it's important to recognize that until your contract is fulfilled, you own the stuff. So if they're paying you in installments, if they're gonna give you a deposit and then pay you the rest later, until that payment is complete, you own that shit, first and foremost. I'll give you a prime example. Carnegie Hall. I'm the first artist to ever be commissioned by Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
They didn't know who they were dealing with. I was like, okay, what are you gonna do with the artwork? Where is it gonna go? They're like, oh, we're gonna put in commercials, Times Square. And I was like, ooh, Times Square, okay. All right. So this is how we're gonna set the contract up. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yo, how is the installment payments gonna go? They're like, okay, well, this is how we're gonna do it. I'm like, all right, great. So I have 5 months to get all my assets on the blockchain. The reason why that's important is because you can also renegotiate your contract.
Wow.
So now I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting this much offerings on the blockchain for this artwork.
Wow.
I think this is a little bit more valuable than what you're paying me.
Wow.
Oh, really? Okay, well, we really want this work because you kind of put us in a tight spot. So we didn't write anything in the contract that you can't do anything you want with your intellectual property. So now you have to renegotiate. And out of that, without saying too much, I got paid a little bit more. But then also from that, I was able to own partial sales of all the posters he sell. And that was like 300 posters that I was selling for $500 each. So it worked out really well. So all those different things, and then to this day, I still can get checks ongoing. So, but the big thing is, one of the things I want to talk about is the Canadian Intellectual Property Office sucks. It's a piece of shit. And I'll tell you what. So when you register something as a copyright, you're just registering the title. Not every contract acknowledges the ownership of a title. Because the title of an art piece or for production or any asset can change, right?
Okay.
And so if I'm registering an artwork, I might call that Mona Lisa today, but I might name it after a girl that I like tomorrow, right? And so when you're registering an image, there's no real infrastructure for that. So that's where the blockchain also comes in real handy, because you can have the metadata of your actual digital file and the image of your artwork also registered at the same time, and it's printed, it's stored, it's preserved. So the reason why you can now use that as an empowerment is because you can now go to a legislative body like the Supreme Court, XYZ, to say, hey, here's a time, date, stamped authentication, certification to prove that this is something that I own and that I've owned it since this date. And now this is also a business transaction, so this is also something that's a legal asset. Right? So now, one of the other things I want to mention is that here in Canada, because artists don't really make a lot of money typically, we don't actually insure our artwork, right? So if you buy like an artwork from a gallery, you get a certificate of authentication, right? So say that this is an authentic work of art, right? If you buy a Banksy, if you buy a basket, etc., etc. So the blockchain also operates as a certificate of authentication. I can't even say authentic. Yes. That works. So that's also something that you can use in the court of law if you need to renegotiate things, or also to fight copyright infringement, etc., etc. So there's all these different steps. I think Artist Tool is a really great platform. For me, we use a share of different platforms to kind of like get an ecosystem going, but it all depends on what is the asset that you're actually trying to get done. And the last thing I'll say, if I'm taking up too much space, is that once you have it on the blockchain, you can actually get it insured. Because an asset is not an asset until it's insured, right? Your car is not worth anything until you get insurance, right? Your house is not worth anything until you get insurance. Doesn't matter what anybody say. When you get the deed, you get insurance, right? So when you get your work on the blockchain, it's kind of a soft insurance, but you can also go to an appraiser and actually get it insured again. So there's all these things that like we don't think about when it comes to intellectual property. And those are all assets, right? So once you get insurance, you can also, boom, that's now a business write-off. That's also something that you can increase in terms of appreciation, right? And then you can increase your credit, et cetera, you can take that to the bank, et cetera, et cetera. So there's all these little tricks and trades and nicks and nannies that you can utilize when you actually think about your creative work and creative output of intellectual property as an asset.
So here's an interesting question. So you mentioned intellectual property assets and whatnot. Can you name platforms that are more aligned to visual intellectual property versus audio intellectual property? And just for whoever's going to be listening to this in the future, what are some of the platforms? And let's divide it.
By audio and visual?
Visual, digital, audio, digital.
I'm gonna let Kush handle the audio. Actually, you can probably speak to both.
So, it's interesting that you separate both of them, because in the Web3 space, the advantage is being able to bring all of those items together in one specific delivery. So, for example, currently working on a player where you can see my artwork, see the background, a different image, and you can actually see the songs. And it's like a player that you can put on chain with the music. So that's one thing. But there is platforms that you can put music, for example, Sound XYZ. There's Wave Lake. Just Wave Lake. The thing about Wave Lake is that they get tip you in Satoshis, so you're earning Bitcoin, which is pretty cool. Another one is create space, create place. The cool thing about create place is when you put your song up there, and you build your community around your delivery, your drop. Once it gets to 80K, they'll then take that, turn into a meme coin, and put it on Uniswap. So now you have a community behind this coin. You have your market cap already done, and so now it's like trading around the world. So
That's
these are
so
some
cool.
options that you have.
That's so cool.
For the visual,
Oh, try this.
this is wrong, but I mean the easiest one is OpenSeas. Because you can have a smart contract on there, so that's great. You know, ideally you want to create your own smart contract with your NFTs or whatever asset you put in the blockchain. But I'll just leave that OpenSeas just to be safe. I don't know if you have a preference in terms of where you like to mint things. Marketplace is good too.
I typically use Foundation. I'm not sure because I know a lot of these platforms also like change over time, but so far they've been pretty good with I guess being for the artists. So they still have like the royalties, they still have the copyright protection and a lot of the visual artwork. But it's also making me think that I also need to look into that more. So I'll also say like full disclaimer, I think. But one thing that I do whenever I look at a platform is I always go into like their policy, privacy, all of that information. I read a lot of the fine print and ensure that I understand what I'm actually doing before I my network.
Recommend one. Sorry, Max. I was just going to mention, because you mentioned the smart contracts and how important it is to actually create your own sovereign smart contract. Manifold.xyz is a platform that allows you to do that, and it's a Canadian business, so shout out to Canadian crypto business, but Manifold.xyz is definitely one, because you can actually do audio or visual, really anything you want to mint to the blockchain, you can do it on Manifold.xyz, and when it goes onto the blockchain, you can find it on a foundation or an OpenSea, and that's the beauty of blockchain, right? It's all open source, it's all like, you know, transparent, accountable, there for the taking. So there's, like you said, it's a long list of actual platforms that showcase your work, but getting on the chain is the most important thing. And I think Manifold is a really great solution for that. Go ahead, Max.
Real quick, yeah, I'm actually glad that you brought up Manifold for the mere fact that these platforms that you're asking for, whether it be audio, visual, we can create our own platforms.
Damn,
And you know, things like Manifold, like you have to follow like these companies and these developers and these teams that are interested in the ecosystem growing. You mentioned ecosystem. We could build our own ecosystem. So you have to get the technology, learn the technology, and be able to apply it. Then you find people like us that know, hey, you know, instead of putting it just on OpenSea and not really understanding all of these terms, you can use a Manifold and then put it on another platform. That's going to not only facilitate it for you, you know, that's going to also help you monetize and more, you know, way better. I mean, way better than you would have been on these platforms. And you don't control it. You don't know where it ends up going. You know, you have to learn it. I mean, you have to really learn the technology. And the beautiful thing about Web3, you know, this is why we're here at this conference, you know, it's because it's a really given space. You know what I'm saying? You know, a lot of people are sharing the knowledge. And as long as you're unafraid to kind of venture into it, you're gonna find the information. You know, but now it's taken at another level because the information has been here. You know, this is what, like, you know, I'm in conference. This is my second one. You know, she said it's her third. They've done a bunch of them, but now it's really getting our own conferences, getting our own energy together to actually really understand. Like, I bet I'm gonna click up with, you know, my guy, and we're gonna do this. And you know, you wanna learn how to do this? Bet, go talk to this person over here because they've already got it on a lot. You know what I'm saying? You know, you introduce a tokenization system into it. You compare the small businesses with the actual creators, and then you got a nice little system going where everyone can learn and benefit from each other. And then you all come together and say, I bet now we're gonna do this event. We're gonna onboard more people. We're gonna teach them how to do it, and so on and so forth. You know, but we gotta start now. We gotta start sooner than later because at the end of the day, we love futurists. And shouts to Valerie, and shouts to everyone that's put futurists together. But futurists, you know what I'm saying? We that, you know what I'm saying? We gotta put that together, you know what I'm saying? You know, so shouts to everybody, and you know, no slight to nobody. We love these platforms. We're here for these platforms, but we can create our own platforms.
Just wanted to add on to that, what they were saying, the independent contracts. So Manifold is one. I also just want to throw out there, third web, and being able to control your own contract and put all the features in that you want, and tying it to a website and all this other things like that. So tokenating your website so only people with certain credentials that you provide to get in to see different content and all that kind of thing. So take a look at that one as well.
So we're gonna bring this round table to a wrap. Yeah, go ahead. I was gonna say if anyone has last questions, I wanted to think about it. But the one thing I want to hear from everyone is, what's one thing you want to leave this conference with? So I want you to think about that answer, and then we're just gonna pass that microphone around and just share what's one thing you want to leave the conference with.
This was also a question, I guess. Hi, my name is Jerry. I mean, I'm not necessarily like in like blockchain like as a career, but I've been interested in crypto like the last 4 years or so. I will admit NFTs and things like that have been very confusing. As much as I understand crypto, I'm like, oh, NFT, I don't fully get it, but I will say I feel like this discussion has kind of clarified all of that, especially when you talk more into intellectual property and things like that. So I guess my question is, I mean, I'm not an artist, but I do like content creation, and I know a lot of people have the issue where maybe like larger creators might take their content and then use that for their own, and then they don't benefit from that. So I know you're talking about like audio and visual being put on the blockchain. Is video and posts like that can those also be put on the blockchain? And would that be able to be, I guess, your mark to be able to say, hey, you know, took my content, because a lot of times they're not able to say, oh, like this is actually mine, and they just get away with it. So is blockchain, like, can blockchain be used for content creators basically to mark their content?
Yes, simple yes. Everything. So another simple thing, like blockchain can be used for anything and everything. The way that Astro Senkofa uses it is for archiving and for preservation of credit. But you can use that in any type of form. So, for example, like I went to the Budget Barrington concert in New York, and like we had like boom, like, front row seats, and I was like, yo, shit, this is his first concert in like since he came out, and I was like, yo, I said to my partner, yo, take a picture of the tickets, because like we were in a section that nobody was in. I was like, yo, why is there no one here? I'm like, yo, this is uber rare, like, you know what I mean, like this is like, I was like, oh, this is a special thing, like he hailed us up and everything. I was like, oh, he touched your ticket too. So he get the sweat marks on the ticket. I'm like, yo, I'm taking a picture of this. And because in my first, I was like, yo, I want to show this to my kids. But I'm like, yo, this also has value as an image. Like, I mean, I'm like, yo, this is dope. You know, so even that, like, that's something I can preserve and that can have digital value as much as it has literal fiat, real world value. So, so to say all that, like, you can literally put anything on the blockchain. That's a good question. Thank you. Did anyone else want to add to it?
So yes, I agree with him wholeheartedly. I think the difficult thing with like content creators and getting your message out there, especially with trying to build something to scale, with blockchain technology, it's kind of so new that, you know, it's very difficult to scale within it. You know, you kind of just have to utilize the tools that are available to help you get to where you gotta go.
So you can just pass the mic around. I want to hear from everyone who's here, because y'all part of the community. What's one thing that, just introduce your name, and what's one thing that you want to leave the conference with? And that's also, I want to hear from y'all too.
I'll go ahead. Sorry. Okay, again, my name is Millionaire Mommy, and one thing that I would like to leave with is that I help millionaire minds turn passion into profit, specifically showing our youth how to get employment pathways into arts and culture. And so I'm really big on partnerships. I do event planning, grant writing, project management. I would love for you guys to connect with me to figure out what we can do. And then I would love to learn from you guys. So I know the affiliate link, I have to connect with you on that. And I know that there's other things to learn from you all. So yeah, just connect.
And how can people get in touch with you?
So, millionairemommy.org. Yeah, millionairemommy.org. You can book a free session. We can talk about your business, your project, your vision, and idea, what we can do together, or LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
Thank you. Again, my name is Chantal Pao, and I'm the president and CEO of CQ Business Consulting. And one thing I want to get out of this conference is meeting new people who potentially might need assistance with their strategic plan for growth over the next few years. That's something I could definitely help you with. So if you want to get in touch with me, Instagram handle at CQBC_Inc. There, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Chantal Pao, MBA, and I'll be there as well. Thank you.
Beautiful.
So as I mentioned before, I'm Zoe. You can find me on Instagram as the Zoe Kid One. One thing that I'm really looking to do is connect with more artists to help like with facilitation of being on the blockchain, but also in the virtual reality spaces because I create 3D spaces myself. Helping artists if they want to have like a 3D exhibition, like what platforms they can use, but also like how to design a space that's very specific for them.
Beautiful.
And for myself, I would like to definitely make more relationships, look at what potential collaborations there are in the future, and yeah, just keep growing.
How can people get in touch with you?
Oh, sorry. Again, you can get in touch with me on Instagram, LinkedIn, under Chris Nubia. My tag is I am Nubio, also on Twitter. Thank you.
My name is Jeffrey Scott Lachman. On IG, I am The Real Jeffrey Scott. On LinkedIn, I'm Jeffrey Scott Lachman. I'm a strategy executive, so I do a lot of enterprise level strategy, Amazon, Daimler, Boeing, that type of thing. But I've also worked with artists and whatnot, so I want to meet with people who are in the artist space as well as the technology space in order to understand how we can add value to what you're doing. So I could be reached on those socials.
Awesome.
So hi guys, my name is Josh Rustine, and I think the one thing I want to leave from here, especially from this talk, is kind of just being able to build more of a community here, you know, kind of like my friend Jerry, I don't come from this space, you know, crypto, blockchain, all that stuff. So, you know, thankfully I was able to get an invite to this event, but, you know, I was a little bit nervous, a little hesitant because, once again, I'm not from this space. I don't know many people within the space, so it's kind of like, we have those doubts about, do I really necessarily belong here? Am I going to be able to get that much value out of here, out of this event, excuse me? And being able to see so many people that look like me, you know, wear their hair like me, it's just, it inspires you, they have so much more confidence.
You belong here, brother.
Yes.
Exactly.
Aw,
Exactly.
cute.
You know, to be able to, once again, know that you belong here, right? And I think, you know, not to make this like a long spiel, but I think it's important that we're able to build a community here because we're all uniquely talented. We all have our own abilities. We all have our own things that we can offer to this whole space. And it's just kind of like, why can't it be any of us that becomes a leader? You know, why can't it be us that has a seat at the table? You know, why does any of us deserve the scraps? We deserve to be heard. We deserve to be visible in all of our abilities and all of our talents. I think that's kind of why I really want to be able to kind of push forward, even though I'm not from the space. I think it's important that people that are from the space, that are creative, that have their own talents, like I said, are able to use, you know, things like blockchain and crypto to be able to ensure that their intellectual property, ensure that their creative abilities is going to be safeguarded and ensure that they're able to create wealth for themselves and instead of being able to be taken advantage from these, maybe you can say predatory systems that are looking to be able to capitalize on people, especially black people within space that don't have necessarily the same resources. I think, as you said before, the case of the 14-year-old, you know, there wasn't that necessarily that community that was there of other black creatives. Would he have been able to protect his own money? Would he have been able to garner the same residuals? So I think that's important, you know, even though me necessarily, I might not be able to dabble within this space, or I might not see something, here for myself. I think it's important to be able to pass on that knowledge to someone who actually might be able to extract value from this space. And once again, I think it's so important that we're able to build that community and people that look like us are able to see that, look at the community, it's growing, it's expanding, and I think that's just one of the main goals in being able to make sure that, to ensure that we do belong here and we deserve to stay in this space.
Ashe. Amen.
How can people get in touch with you?
I'm just on LinkedIn. Same thing, Josh Ian. You can look me up, or also University of Toronto, where I'm part of the University of Toronto Black Alumni Association, as with my friend Jerry. So you can also follow us there. You can get in touch with our leaders there, Grafino Balkis Hashuru. So.
Aww.
So that's at UOT Black Alumni Association on Instagram.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I'm Max Russell. Thank you guys. You know, once again, I just want to connect with all of you guys. You know, that's really what I came here for. So anywhere you see me in the world, doing this blockchain, doing this tech, it's always blockchain for the block. You know, you can find me at blackbrooklyn.io. You know, yeah, search for me there, blockchain for the block, yo.
Beautiful.
What's up, y'all? I am Kwame Symbolic.
down with Astro Sankofa, been rolling with Black NFT art. Been a visionary up in this, where people made a lot of money off of the talents. So this is an inspiration, firstly. So I came here for some inspiration and got that check. And there's been some business sides that I didn't even know the family is already fully locking. So that's another thing that came out of this lovely, lovely meeting. Some people that have been doing amazing things. So I'm just in closing. We have always been. It's like we get things are going on and we're like, oh, we are early in this. But we were early, I mean, we could go all the way back to civilization and building. So something else is going on. So I think this is a part of the solution right here. We always been there early.
Facts.
So respects. I'm gonna connect with y'all, and lastly, what I like to do is just spread the word. Symbolic ONE is my personal. I do 360 since long times, and on my bio, my blog page, I just share other people's shit. Okay, so that's all. Basically what I do. So I look forward to sharing what y'all are up to. Peace.
Yay. Thank you.
All right, yeah, very inspired, man. Thank you, everybody, for the chat. My name is David Karoma. I run a podcast, Web3 Warriors, where I do enjoy interviewing creators, builders, artists, Web3 gaming developers, all kinds of interesting builders in the Web3 space. So definitely tap in with me there. You can follow me on socials at Web3 Warriors. Open invitation to all of the amazing builders and creators here. I'd love to chat with you and talk to you. And I just want to leave with this. I like to say, in Web3, it's really an ethos change, I think what we've talked about here, whether it's in the crypto space leading you to invest better and think about your money better, or whether it's in the IP space, in the creator space, thinking about real ownership of your creativity, not just on the blockchain, but just in general, right? So Web3 has this impact to really change the ethos of how civilization, or more accurately, the economy is really running, right? So I like to leave with this. Web3 is about collaboration over competition, and abundance over scarcity. That's it.
Woo!
So I just want to invite everyone to come and let's take a group picture, because documentation is important. Even y'all in the